Hello, my friends. We are in amazing, extraordinary times. As I predicted 2 years ago, I said Trump would be charged and indicted, and he has been charged and indicted. I said that we had over 27 different programs working in this area, and over 12 craft and biologicals, like many of you have known. And it's all coming out now, and it's pretty extraordinary. And the craft themselves, the fact that they've been all around the world. And if you go back on the channel, you'll see I spoke about China stealing our UFO technology. We have so much UFO evidence, so much material that it's become so bloated that it's a security risk, a national security risk, because we can't contain it all and we're not utilizing it at the level that something like this deserves to be utilized and understood and exploited, basically. All right, let's look at human civilization, just to get a sense of how maybe extraterrestrials could fit in our world and how we fit in our world. This is when it's warm on the surface, when there's no glaciers, and down here, below this blue line, is when there's glaciers begin. Glaciation begins. Okay, and this line right here, right there, is today, right now. And you can see that we have had some pretty nice weather for quite a while, right up to about, this is 50,000 years ago, this is 25,000 years ago. You would say that's about 12.5 thousand years ago. The Younger Dryas happened right here. This crash of temperature, boom, it crashed fast. I mean, look how fast it crashed. I mean, extraordinarily fast. That could have been in as little as 3 to 5 years. But then since then, it kind of warmed up, and we've had this incredibly warm period and have gone from dirt to space travel. Now, before that, how long did we have? Well, let's look first how long since the Younger Dryas. Since the Younger Dryas, there's been about, what does that say? Okay, 3 millimeters. And then before the Younger Dryas, how long did humanity have? Humanity had 4.8. So humanity had a lot more time. You know, if we had 12.5 thousand years, they maybe had 20,000 years or 25,000 years of great weather. You can see the weather is even warmer than now. There might not have even been glaciers where they are. But let's look back to the last pole flip. Well, you know what? We're going to skip that for a second. We're going to look 110,000 years ago. We know humanity has been around for a lot longer than 110,000 years. We know humanity has been around for at least 300,000 years. That's the major speculation. So let's go to 300,000 years, okay? Each one of these ups and downs is some major catastrophe. And any time above this line is a great time for growth for any life form, but especially for humanity. Now look how long, at 100 and about 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, to about 140,000, maybe 20 to 30,000 years here. Look at this temperature. There were no ice. There was no ice on Antarctica. No ice caps. This must have been an extraordinary time for humanity. Now, the other species of hominids were still alive here, and so were the megafauna. The giant, gorillas, giant bears, giant saber-toothed tigers, woolly mammoths. We could have had Neanderthals on woolly mammoths waging war against cities of humans, surrounded by, stone and wood and gathering together to survive. Because humanity was alive here. So was Neanderthal, so was Denisovian, so was several other different hominid types. That must have been the golden age of humanity. But let's go back to the last pole flip. The last pole flip was 42,000 years ago, right here. What happens is the temperature gets really, really high. And then when we lose the magnetosphere and it goes to zero, it crashes. The temperature gets super cold because the sun and the cosmic rays burn off our atmosphere, and a lot of our protection is gone, and the rays go straight to the planet and burn off our greenhouse effect. So the coldness of space rushes in. So the temperature crashes incredibly fast. So that's what happened during the last pole flip. And that crash is much more deadly than the Younger Dryas crash, we can see. But so we know that if we are in a pole flip right now, which we're pretty certain we are, 1,000 years ago, the pole, I'll show you where the magnetosphere was. It was 1,000 years ago. It was about 65% stronger. We're at 35% pole strength right now. I think we are in this little climbing mode right here. And the temperature is going to go up and up and up and up. And then that little plateau there, boom, this crash. But if you look back over human history, look at all of these eras of warmth. This era, at 250,000 years ago, is how long? Let's see. That one is 5.7. Wow. What do you think humans, just like us, could have done in 20,000 years then? And how about this one here at 300,000 years ago? How big is this one? This one's at 9. And how much have we had since? To go from farming to space, 2.9. Imagine the lost civilizations that evolved during these periods. Because these crashes, these glacial colds here are super cold. Look how steep some of these crash. Look how steep some of these rise. Now, there's a lot of signs. We can go through all the signs of why it's definitely happening now. And we can go through the magnetosphere and show how the pole flip really works. You can stop this and go through that if you want. Let's look at something interesting here. This is temperature versus carbon dioxide over the past period of time. Okay? Now, if you look here at the last pole flip, remember 42,000 years ago? Bam, here we go. It's this one right here. Boom, pow. During that whole period, look what happens with carbon dioxide. It's an arch. Look at carbon dioxide's history. Nowhere else do you see an arch like that. You really only see it doing a pole flip with the carbon dioxide. There's a lot of really interesting things to think about when you look at this and consider when humanity and when maybe even other species could have existed. Look at these golden eras. Could a subspecies 100,000 years ago be responsible for the UFOs we see today? This is a more frozen world, a more glaciated world. But a non-glaciated world would certainly have big cities on the coast with all these humans and other species. We could find these locations and look for the most likely ones. What an extraordinary time for humanity. How we must have stuck together on such a warm planet with no, glaciers and no, at the poles, we had no ice poles. It's really extraordinary. Now, there's a couple things that I think are extremely interesting to look at. And this is one of them, okay? Now, this is global temperature. Remember? Okay, this is where we are now. Okay, here's Homo sapiens. They say Homo sapiens, at least they project here, that they go back to about 300,000 years. Most species die, as you notice, during the crash of temperature. Look how terrible these crashes are. Look, this species dies here. Look how terrible that crash is. Wow. And a lot of species are likely born or evolve, come to being during these precious super warm periods. So I would think humanity probably came to being during one of these super warm periods, like around here at 400,000, 300,000, 400,000 years, I would guess. And look who we lived with. Right up until 42,000 years ago, basically, or the last super healthy event, 110,000 years ago, we just spoke about the golden age of humanity. Right afterwards, Homo erectus died, Homo neanderthals. But look at the regularity. Doesn't that seem a little odd to you? Could our species have been cultivated amidst all these other species they're finding? I don't know. Could UFOs be from one of these eras? What do you guys think? I think our magnetosphere is in big trouble. And the last pole flip could be the last time it flipped. And right now we're just going down to zero. Mars did it too. Mars had a magnetic field and lost its magnetic field. What do you guys think? Lots of pole flips. They've been getting faster and faster, and soon, at some point, it will stop. What do you guys think? Much love.